The silence of deep space was a lie. On the bridge of the Imperial warship Imperius, Commander Lee Jun knew the quiet was just the space between noises. The noises of orders, of weapons firing, of ships breaking. He stood with his hands behind his back, watching the main view screen. The blue-green world of Viridia hung there, beautiful and sad. A few dark spots on the surface showed where the last rebel bases were burning. "Report," Jun said. His voice was flat. Without feeling Dot at the sensor station, Sergeant Park Soo-min looked up. She was young for her rank, but her eyes were old. She had seen too much of this war. "No change, Commander. The orbital defense grid is down. Their capital city has surrendered. The remaining resistance is scattered. It's just cleanup now." Jun gave a single, slow nod. Cleanup. It sounded so simple. It meant more bombing, more troops on the ground, more people in chains. The Viridians had wanted to be free. They had asked for a seat on the Imperial Council, for control over their own resources. The Imperium's answer was always the same. The answer was the Imperius and the 20 other warships in the blockade. The Galactic Imperium was everything. It spanned thousands of stars, hundreds of worlds. Its history was long and glorious, or at least that's what the lessons said. For 300 years it had grown, bringing what it called order to the galaxy. Those who refused order were broken. Jun had been a tool of that order for most of his life. He was good at it. But lately, the work felt heavy, like a coat he could not take off. "Sensor contact," Soo-min said, her voice cutting through his thoughts. It was sharper now. "Fringe of the system. Bearing 027 by -15. Jun turned. "Identification? Unknown. It's faint. A energy signature, then nothing. Like a shadow." Soo-min's fingers danced over her console. "It's in the debris field near the system's gas giant. Probably just nebula gas and radiation. The magnetic fields there are a mess." "Probably," Jun echoed. He walked to her station and looked over her shoulder at the screen. A small, fuzzy blip appeared for a second, then vanished. A ghost. They had been seeing these ghosts for weeks, ever since they entered the Solari sector. Always at the edge of the sensors, always in the empty places. Imperial Command had a name for this region of poorly mapped space. They called it the Quiet Zone. Nothing of value was there. Nothing lived there. "Log it and continue the sweep," Jun said, walking back to the center of the bridge. He didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in rebels hiding in asteroids and malfunctioning equipment in the tired minds of his crew. The war was making everyone see things. The bridge was busy but quiet. The crew moved with a routine dullness. They had done this many times. Blockade, bombard, occupy. The rebellion on Viridia was the last spark in this sector. Once it was out, they would go home or to the next world that needed order. Jun looked at the faces of his crew. Officer Kim Tae-shik, young and eager, watching his screens with fierce concentration. Engineer Lee Ji-hyun, her face tight with worry about the ship's overworked engines. They all just wanted it to be over. A new light flashed on the main screen. A message from Imperial Command, coming through the faster-than-light data stream. Jun opened it. It was from a high-ranking strategist he had never met. The words were cold and clear. Commander Jun. Viridia must serve as an example. Proceed with planetary bombardment of the southern continent. Destroy all major infrastructure. The rebellion ends now. Do not wait for full surrender. Jun read the words twice. The southern continent was where most of the people lived. It was where the farms were, the hospitals, the schools that were not already rubble. This was not cleanup. This was punishment. This was making sure no one on Viridia, or on any other world thinking of rebellion, would ever forget the price. He felt sick. "Sergeant Park," he said, his voice low. "Commander, delay the transmission of this order to the fleet for 5 minutes." Su Min looked at him, her eyes wide. This was not procedure. This was close to disobedience. "Sir?" "Just do it." He needed to think. He walked to the large window, looking out at the stars. The Imperium was vast and powerful. It was the only civilization that mattered. Everyone said so. From his homeworld to the Imperial capital, they taught that no race beyond their borders could challenge them. Their technology was the pinnacle. Their ships were invincible. Their will was absolute. But the ghosts at the edge of the sensors, why did they bother him so much? "Commander," Kim Tae-shik called from the communication station. "The rebel leader in the capital is requesting to speak to you." A personal plea. June sighed. On screen, the face that appeared was old, lined with dirt and exhaustion. His clothes were torn. He was in some dark bunker. "Commander," the old man said, his voice trembling but clear, "please, we have laid down our arms. The fighting is over. Your own scans show this. We beg you, do not punish our children for the sins of a few. Let us live." June stared at him. He saw his own grandfather in that face. He saw the simple desire to just live. The order from command burned in his mind. "Your surrender is noted," June said, his official mask firmly in place. "All decisions are made by Imperial command for the stability of the region. Comply with all instructions, and harm will be minimized." The words tasted like ash in his mouth. They were the standard words. They meant nothing. The old man's shoulders slumped. He knew it, too. The screen went dark. "The 5 minutes are up, Commander," Su Min said softly. June closed his eyes for a second. He was a soldier. He had orders. He had a duty. He turned to face his bridge. "Transmit the order to the fleet. Target the southern continent. Primary infrastructure. Begin in 1 hour." The words felt like someone else was saying them. The crew jumped into action, but the air on the bridge grew heavier. No one looked at each other. Kim Tae-shik's eager focus was gone, replaced by a pale, set jaw. Ji Hyeon looked down at her engineering panel, her lips pressed into a thin line. June returned to his position, his back straight. He was following orders. He was maintaining order. This was the way of things. The universe was a violent, messy place, and the Imperium's peace was the only peace there was. Even if it had to be carved with fire from the skies, he forced himself to look at Viridia, at the beautiful, sad world. In 1 hour, parts of it would burn. He told himself it was necessary. He told himself the ghosts in the sensors were nothing. He told himself the emptiness he felt was just fatigue. The Imperium was eternal. Nothing could change that dot outside the ship in the infinite black. Near the swirling gases of the system's edge, another sensor ghost flickered. It was stronger this time. A shape, impossibly smooth and dark, seemed to hang in the space between stars for just a moment. It observed the Imperial fleet, the planet, the order just given. Then, like a breath being held, it was gone again. The quiet zone watched, and it was no longer quiet. The 1 hour countdown was a weight pressing down on the bridge of the Imperius. Commander Lee Jun watched the numbers tick down on the main screen, each minute feeling shorter than the last. Around him, his crew worked in a tense silence. The orders had been sent. Across the fleet, gun decks were being loaded. Targeting coordinates were being entered. The rebellion was over, but the war was about to enter its cruelest phase. Sergeant Park Su-min tried to focus on her sensor screen. The usual ghosts were there, dancing at the edge of detection near the gas giant. She adjusted the filters, trying to get a clear reading. It was probably nothing. It was always nothing. But her mind kept going back to the face of the old rebel leader, the defeat in his eyes. She shook her head, forcing herself to concentrate on the task. A good soldier followed orders. A good soldier trusted that command knew best. Then, everything changed. At exactly 43 minutes on the countdown, the gas giant's magnetic field, which had been a chaotic mess on her screens, suddenly calmed. It didn't fluctuate or spike. It went perfectly, unnaturally smooth. "Commander," she said, her voice tight, "I'm reading a massive energy buildup at the fringe. It's not like before. This is structured." Before June could respond, space itself tore open. It was not an explosion. It was a silent, violent rip in the fabric of reality just beyond Viridia's largest moon. A jagged wound of impossible light appeared, swirling with colors that had no name. From the bridge, they saw it through the viewport, a terrifying and beautiful scar in the starfield. The Imperial sensors screamed in alarm, then went silent for a full 3 seconds as their systems overloaded and rebooted. When the screens came back, the space near the moon was no longer empty. Ships hung there, dozens of them. They were like nothing in the Imperial database. They were angular and sleek, built from a matte black material that seemed to drink the light from the stars. They had no visible engines, no glowing weapon ports, no bridge windows. They were silent, motionless, and perfect. They had arrived without a sound, without a warp signature, without any warning at all. They had simply emerged. Panic erupted across the Imperial fleet comms. Voices overlapped, shouting about unknown contacts, impossible readings, and demands for identification. On the Imperius, June gripped the back of his command chair, his knuckles white. Full alert. Shields to maximum. Target those vessels, but do not fire. I want an identification scan now. "Scanning, sir," Sumin said, her hands flying over the controls. No energy signatures. No life signs. No transponder codes. Their hull material is unknown. It's deflecting our active scans. They're just there. "Hail them," June ordered. "All frequencies." Standard Imperial First Contact Protocol. Officer Kim Tae-shik sent the hail. The channel opened to static. Then a voice came through. It was a woman's voice, calm, clear, and utterly devoid of fear or aggression. It spoke in perfect, unaccented Imperial common, unidentified Imperial fleet. "This is Captain Kim Yuna of the Terran Sovereignty vessel Vigilant. You are ordered to cease all hostilities against the planet Viridia. Power down your weapon systems and withdraw from this star system immediately." A stunned silence fell on the bridge. Terran sovereignty? The words meant nothing. No such power existed in the known galaxy. June leaned into the comm. "This is Commander Lee June of the Imperial Warship Imperius. You are in violation of Imperial space. Identify your authority and your purpose." The reply was immediate, the same calm tone. "Our authority is the prevention of a mass casualty event. Our purpose is your immediate withdrawal. You have 5 standard minutes to comply." A new window flashed on June's command screen, a direct feed from Imperial Command, light years away but connected via quantum stream. The face of Admiral Choi Min-ho, a man known for his iron will and short temper, filled the screen. His face was red with anger and confusion. "June! What is this? Pirates? Some rebel trick?" "Unknown, Admiral. Their technology is advanced. They emerged from a spatial rift. They are demanding we stand down." "Demanding?" Choi Min-ho spat the word. "No one demands of the Imperium. They are a bluff. A shadow play. Destroy the lead ship. Now. Make an example of them, just as we planned for the planet." "Admiral, Their capabilities are unknown. A show of force is exactly what is required. The Admiral shouted, "You have your orders, Commander. Annihilate that ship. Now." The feed cut. June stood frozen. The order was clear. The old way. Crush what you do not understand. He looked at the main screen, at the peaceful blue world of Viridia, and then at the silent, black ships near the moon. Captain Kim Yuna's warning echoed in his head. Prevention of a mass casualty event. He was a soldier. He had orders. He turned to his weapons officer. Target the lead vessel, the Vigilant. Prepare a full salvo from the primary battery. One warning shot across their bow first. The weapons officer nodded. Firing warning shot. A brilliant lance of red energy, capable of melting through a mountain, shot from the Imperius. It passed a mere kilometer from the bow of the black ship. The black ship did not move. It did not raise shields. It did not even seem to notice. Full salvo. Fire, June said, the words heavy. The Imperius shuddered as its main guns unleashed a volley of 6 plasma torpedoes, each one a small sun of destructive power. They streaked across the void, unmissable at this range. Destined to impact the Vigilant and vaporize it, they never arrived. A shimmering silver field, like liquid mercury, appeared in a perfect hexagonal pattern in front of the human ship. The plasma torpedoes hit it and simply vanished. There was no explosion, no energy dispersal. They were absorbed without a sound, without a flash. The hexagonal field glowed softly for a microsecond, then faded. On the bridge of the Imperius, no one spoke. No one breathed. Their most powerful attack had been negated so completely, it was as if they had thrown a stone into a deep, dark well. Then, Kim Yuna's voice returned to the comms. It was still calm, but now it held a note of finality. Your hostile action has been noted. Your 5 minutes have begun. Withdraw, or you will be disarmed. On June's screen, a new message from Admiral Choi flashed, this time text only, filled with panic and rage. ++ all fleets. Engage. Destroy them all. ++ across the Imperial blockade, engines flared to life. Weapons turned. 20 warships began to move, turning their guns away from the planet and toward the mysterious black fleet hovering near the moon. The humans, for the first time, moved. In perfect, silent unison, their ships shifted formation. It was not a maneuver of attack. It was a positioning. They spread out, each ship covering a sector of space, facing the approaching Imperial fleet. They waited. The Imperial fleet surged forward, a wave of gray metal and glowing engines. On the bridge of the Imperius, Commander Lee Jun watched the tactical display, his heart pounding. He knew it was a mistake, but the order was given. The pride of the Imperium, its unbroken chain of victories, demanded this fight. Admiral Choi's command was absolute. The human ships did not retreat. They held their positions, silent and dark. Captain Kim Yuna's voice was gone from the comms. The only communication now was the language of weapons. The first Imperial ship to fire was the Valiant, a heavy cruiser to June's port side. It unleashed its full broadside, a storm of laser cannons and kinetic rounds. The energy lances, capable of cutting through a city, shot toward the nearest black ship. The black ship did not dodge. The same shimmering silver field, a honeycomb of light, appeared before it. The lasers struck the field and bent, scattering into harmless light. The kinetic rounds hit and stopped dead, floating for a second, before drifting away. Their momentum stolen. All across the line, the same thing happened. Imperial firepower, which had broken worlds, was rendered useless. It was like throwing water at a stone wall. The human shields didn't even ripple. Then the humans responded. They did not fire beams or missiles. From the undersides of their black ships, pods launched. They were small, fast, and countless. They swarmed like insects toward the Imperial vessels. At first, June thought they were drones, maybe boarding craft, point defenses. Shoot them down, he ordered. The Imperious's close-in laser turrets spun to life, filling the space around it with crisscrossing red lines. They hit the pods. The pods exploded, but they didn't explode into shrapnel. They burst into clouds of fine, glittering dust that clung to the Imperial ships. "What is that?" Sergeant Park Soo-min called out, her sensor screen flashing with strange readings. "It's some kind of conductive nanoparticulate. It's sticking to our hull and seeking power conduits." A moment later, the Valiant's main engines flickered and died. Its weapon ports went dark. Its shield emitters failed. The great ship was suddenly a drifting, powerless hulk. It had not been destroyed. It had been unplugged. One by one, the same thing happened across the Imperial fleet. The glittering dust swarmed over the ships, shorting out systems, fusing weapon barrels shut, and disabling engines. The human pods were surgical, precise. They targeted engines and weapons only. Life support, communications, and gravity were left untouched. The Imperial crews were alive, trapped in metal coffins. Panic turned to utter terror on the command channel. Voices screamed about total system failure, about being dead in the water. Admiral Choi's voice cut through the chaos, a raw shriek of disbelief. "June, report. What are they doing?" June could only watch as the Imperius was hit. The swarm of dust pods came, evading their frantic point defense fire with impossible agility. A cloud of shimmering particles settled over the ship's forward section. Instantly, the main screen flickered. The weapons console next to Kim Taeshik went dark. The low hum of the engines faded into an eerie silence. The lights on the bridge dimmed, then steadied on a low emergency setting. They had no weapons, no engines, no shields. They still had air. They still had gravity. They could still see and hear. "Report," June said, his own voice sounding strange in the quiet. Soo-min looked up from her dead console, her face pale in the gloom. "Primary, secondary, and tertiary systems are offline. Weapons, propulsion, shields, all neutralized. They've left us with basic life support and internal sensors. Commander, they didn't even try to kill us. That was the most frightening part. The humans were not destroying them. They were disarming them with a casual, effortless skill that spoke of a technology centuries beyond their own. It was a demonstration, a lesson taught by a master to a child who had picked up a dangerous tool. On the main viewport, June saw the rest of his fleet sharing the same fate. Ships listed silently, their running lights dark, their engines cold. The great Imperial blockade force, which minutes ago had been ready to burn a continent, was now a collection of floating scrap metal. It was the most complete and humiliating defeat in Imperial history, and it had taken less than 3 minutes. Then, a new broadcast filled every channel, overriding all frequencies. It was Captain Kim Yuna's voice again, but this time it was accompanied by a video feed. It showed not her, but a star map of the Imperium. 7 star systems glowed a soft, pulsing red. "People of the Imperium," her voice said, calm and clear. "Your attack has been met with measured response. Your fleet here is disabled, not destroyed. We have no desire for bloodshed. However, your empire's expansion through violence and slavery must end." The star map zoomed in on one of the red systems. It was the core world of Calax Prime, the Imperium's greatest shipyard. In real time, they watched as a spatial rift identical to the one at Viridia opened near the planet. From it, 3 of the sleek black warships emerged. They took up positions around the shipyard. They did not fire. They just waited. Got the feed switched to another system, the agricultural hub of Garen's world. 2 black ships hung over its main spaceport. Then another, the mining colony of Strix. On and on. The feed showed them 7 key industrial and military worlds, each now under the silent watch of human vessels. We have observed your civilization for 60 of your years. Yuna's voice continued. We placed cloaked observation posts within your borders, listening, watching. The sensor anomalies you dismissed as ghosts were us. We learned of your conquests, your cruelty, your waste. We intervened only when your actions threatened to cause the extinction of the Viridian species. Our sole demand is this: stand down. Withdraw your military to your core worlds. Begin peaceful negotiations with your subject planets. If you do, we will leave. If you do not, we will dismantle your ability to wage war, system by system. The transmission ended. The bridge of the Imperius was colder than space. June understood now. The ghosts in the sensors. The feeling of being watched. It was all true. While the Imperium believed itself the master of the galaxy, a wiser, more powerful eye had been upon them the whole time. They had never been alone. They had never been supreme. Admiral Choi's face appeared again on June's personal screen. The fury was gone, replaced by a hollow, stunned fear. He looked like a man who had just seen a mountain move. June, they're at Calax. They're everywhere. How? How is this possible? June had no answer. He looked out at the dark human ship, the Vigilant, hanging peacefully in the void. It had not moved. It had not needed to. Sergeant Su-min was right. They weren't trying to kill. They were teaching a lesson. And the lesson was that the Imperium was a child playing with fire in a house full of kindling, and the adults had just come home. The silence on the Imperius was complete. The usual hum of the engines, the beep of consoles, the low thrum of power flowing through the ship, all of it was gone. Only the soft glow of emergency lights and the sound of breathing filled the bridge. Commander Lee Jun stared at the main viewport. His mighty warship was a dead weight, floating alongside the rest of the disabled fleet. The human ships, in contrast, looked like dark, patient guardians. His personal command screen flickered. A new communication request appeared. It was not from the fleet or from Imperial Command. It was a direct, secured, point-to-point link. The source was the human ship Vigilant. June looked at it for a long moment. He felt the eyes of his crew on him. Sergeant Park Su-min watched him, her expression unreadable. He accepted the link. The face of Captain Kim Yuna appeared. She looked as calm as she had sounded. Her surroundings were not a warship bridge as he knew it. The walls behind her were a smooth, warm gray. There were no flashing lights or banks of screens. It looked peaceful. Commander June, she said, her tone less formal now, almost conversational. Your ship's primary systems will remain offline for approximately 6 hours. Your crew is in no danger. We have not harmed anyone. You have humiliated an empire, June replied, his voice rough. What do you want? To talk. To explain, Yuna said. Your admiral is panicking. He is making threats he cannot carry out. You, however, hesitated. You delayed the bombardment order. You fired a warning shot. You are not like the others. You still have a conscience. That is why I'm speaking to you. June felt a chill. They knew. They had seen everything. The sensor ghosts had been more than just observers. They had been listeners, reading their communications, watching their every move. Who are you? He asked, the question sounding small. We are humanity, Yuna said. We call ourselves the Terran Sovereignty. We developed the technology to fold space, to travel instantly between stars over a century ago. It was a discovery that could have made us conquerors, like your Imperium. We chose a different path. On his screen, a simple diagram appeared. It showed a single star, then lines folding space to connect to other stars, creating a web. We explored. We learned. We found many young species, many empires rising and falling. We made a rule: never interfere. We would watch, we would record, but we would not intervene in the natural development of a civilization. We became the galaxy's quiet witnesses. The diagram changed. It showed the Imperium's emblem, a sharp, angry symbol spreading across stars. Then we found you. We watched your expansion. At first, it was just politics, war as you know it. But in the last 20 years, it changed. It became extermination, the genocide of the Trill, the ecological poisoning of Paxson 3, the slave markets on Vex. You are not just building an empire. You are burning a path through the galaxy. June wanted to argue, to defend his people. But he couldn't. He had seen the reports. He had ignored them, telling himself it was necessary for order. Viridia was the tipping point. Una continued, her gaze steady. Your command was not just to pacify a rebellion. It was to punish an entire species, to make their world unlivable for generations. That is not war. That is extinction. Our rule says we only intervene to prevent extinction. So here we are. You think you can stop the entire Imperium? June asked, though the answer was already displayed on his screens, his powerless fleet, the human ships over Calax Prime. We already have, Una said simply. The ships you see are not our main fleet. They are peacekeepers. The 7 systems we now hold are the 7 pillars of your military-industrial machine. Your shipyards, your fuel refineries, your weapon factories. If we choose, we can fold them into a star, one by one. We will not. We are not destroyers. She leaned forward slightly. But you must understand, we have been inside your borders for decades. We have listening posts in your asteroid belts, sensor drones in your nebulae. We know your fleet movements, your command codes, your defense plans. Your Imperium is an open book to us. You cannot fight an enemy who has already read your battle plans before you write them. The sheer scale of it crashed down on June. It wasn't just superior weapons. It was superior knowledge. They hadn't just appeared from nowhere. They had been here all along, in the shadows, in the quiet places. Every unexplained sensor echo, every ghost contact over the years, it had been them. The Imperium had been living in a house it thought was its own, not realizing another family had keys to every door. Why tell me this? June whispered, because someone in the Imperium needs to understand the truth, Una said. Admiral Choi believes this is a trick, an illusion. He is already ordering the 2nd and 3rd fleets to converge on Calax. He will get thousands of people killed for his pride. You, Commander, have seen our capability. You know it is not a trick. You can choose to be part of the problem, or you can choose to be part of the solution. What solution? Surrender? A change, Una corrected. An end to expansion. Withdrawal from conquered territories. The beginning of real diplomacy. Your empire can still exist, but not as a slave master. The technology we used to disable your ship, we could share it. Clean energy. Medical advances. But not while you hold a gun to the galaxy's head. The communication line stayed open, waiting. June looked away from Una's face, out at his bridge. Su Min was watching him. Officer Kim Tae-shik looked lost, frightened. Engineer Lee Ji-hyen had her head in her hands. He thought of the old rebel leader on Viridia. Let us live. He thought of the cold order from command to burn a continent. He thought of the silent, terrifying power of the human ships, a power they used not to kill, but to stop the killing. He was a soldier of the Imperium. But what was the Imperium now? A bully who had just met a bigger, wiser parent. The certainty that had guided his life was gone, shattered in a few minutes by silent black ships and a calm woman's voice. "What would you have me do?" June asked, the fight gone from his voice. "Your fleet-wide communication array is still functional on a basic level," Una said. "You can broadcast to every ship here and to command. You can tell them what you have seen. You can tell them the truth. Or you can wait for Admiral Choi to start a war he cannot finish. The choice is yours, Commander. We will be waiting." The screen went dark, leaving June alone in the dim light with the weight of a terrible decision. The old world was over. He knew that now. The question was what, if anything, he would try to build from the ashes.